emails.
Unless
Yep.
you're over the age of like I don't know, and you're balding.
Yeah, there's a certain age, like there's guys my age that email especially
Hello and welcome to Corner Comics, your mostly weekly comic book reading club. My friends and I get together. We choose a few issues for each other, share those issues, then we come together and we talk about those issues. Um, Joined by my friends Russ and Emmanuel. I'm going to start with Emmanuel this week because I started with Russ last week. Emmanuel, how you doing? And where can people find you on the interwebs?
I am doing fantastical. And you can find me on Instagram at EM_MAN_YOU_EL. And you can also find me on my website called EmmanuelTheStory.com. Also cornercomics.net. I will see you there.
And Russ?
You can find me at, let's see, where am I this week? You can find me at blacksuperherofan.com. You can find me on comiccreatorsofcolor.com. You can find me on Twitter at Walrus. It's at WALLRUSS. You can also find me here at cornercomics.net.
Nice. Uh,
And I'm Splendifabulous, by the way.
Splendifabulous.
Yes, I'm Splendifabulous.
Nice. I want to pour that in my
Look it up.
coffee.
That does sound like something you could put in your coffee. Give you a little extra pep. So we've got 6 issues this week, as we do every week. We're each bringing 2. So I've got Stealth number 6. This is issue 6 of 6. We have had, I think, at least 3 issues of this comic on the show. First one Russ brought on, issue number 1. And then I think I brought issue 3, and now I'm bringing issue 6. My second pick for the week is Captain Marvel number 22. This is the current run. This is the one that just came out. Legacy number 156, if anybody cares about that. Russ, your 2 comics.
I brought Omni number 1 by Humanoid Comics. Time to introduce yet another superhero universe. And I've done so again with my second issue, Rising Stars number 1 by Image and Top Cow.
Emmanuel?
Nice. I have brought Animaniacs DC comic issue number 57, the very last issue. It started in 1995. This is the issue that ended in 2000. And also, I brought Strange Academy issue number 1, the 2020 run.
I'm surprised you could say Animaniacs and still have a straight face.
Yeah,
It's
mine
great.
would be straight negative, but we'll get into that.
All right, so let's jump into it. So my first pick, Stealth number 6. As I mentioned, this is a series that we've been following. Russ had picked the first issue. I really loved it. I ended up putting it on my pull list and have been following it ever since. The 6th issue being the last issue in this little story arc. Possibly the series, unless it does well, and more people like myself have started buying it. This sort of completes the story. I'll leave it right there. I'll let you guys. What are your thoughts?
Emmanuel.
You don't mind? I'll go. So I really enjoyed this. I hope that it continues past issue number 6. This is a great origin. So much can get done, I do believe, with this. He could be the CEO of this corporation and also a superhero, work it out some sort of way. I have high hopes for this. I enjoyed the ride. Now, I didn't read issue number 5. I would have to read issue number 5 to get caught up and explain exactly the way everything panned out. Issue number 6 was a good ending, though. Reading the initial issue number 3, I think, and then 6, you kind of jump and you get a snapshot of what's going on, which is good. But to fill in those blanks, I would have to read issue number 4 and number 5 as well, and issue number 2. So I, all in all, I'd give this a read, a solid read. I enjoyed it. The art really didn't stand out to me, but throughout this issue, it never really has. It's been the story which has captivated me most, with the father's mental issues, and now there's talk about maybe it's the suit, the displacement in time. That it's really smart writing, because whenever you're writing about time, you have to fill in some blanks. You have to make it make sense. You have to write at the end, and the end has to inform or at least explain the beginning. So this was well done.
Okay. Um, First of all, yes, I like the book. So my experience with Skybound, other than The Walking Dead, is that everything that they do is just to make a movie.
Yeah, or a
Right?
TV
They'll do
show,
a great
or
premise.
yeah,
They get you all the way to the end, and they'll do, uh, uh, everything would be a great movie on Netflix. Right? All of the anything from Skybound is almost totally made to be able to handle in a 2-hour movie. This is no different. Uh, I felt like, you know how I always say you are a writer, you write an impossible situation, you write yourself into a corner, and then you have to write yourself out of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It has the feel like they wrote themselves into a corner, and then in the last issue, they invent that time travel is a thing. And all of a sudden, everything is different. But in the last issue, you don't get to follow up. You don't get to, this is it. Everything happens like in that last act. Like, what? Time travel? What the heck? There was no clues or nothing about that any on. Now all of a sudden, that's how you get out of this? So
yeah.
if I didn't like it already, I would be upset by that. Right? I do like the book, however. It looks good. The story was good. There was a little part in the end that didn't quite make total sense, or they didn't really explain everything in the comic.
Yeah.
So there's some things left out. I don't want to say lazy story writing, but how some people use certain things wasn't really made clear. But that did not. I was already on the ride by then. I've read every issue of this series. It does write itself out of a corner and gives you something new to think about. And I enjoyed it and would recommend it and say that this series is a buy. And if you've already found that, you got to get this issue too, because they wrote themselves in a corner. Like, how were they going to, like, if you read last issue, then you knew that this next issue would be the last one. They were like, what are they really going to say? And I was like, oh, we got time travel and this, we got this, and this happened. And
Yeah.
way back when in this, they did a Doctor Who get out of jail free card, and they did a decent job of it. So I really enjoyed the book. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so to sort of Emmanuel's point about missing the issues, that I don't feel like that's a problem. I feel like there was a lull at issue 5, and you're like, what? How? Like you said, how the hell is this gonna end? I don't really know. I feel like they did actually have the time travel clues throughout the entire series, though.
Yeah, they did.
Um,
They did, but you don't think of it as time travel. Like I said, you don't. If this was an ongoing series, there would be time travel ramifications over time. But the word time travel, the phrase time travel, doesn't even come up to the very last issue.
No, but it makes sense, and so they play with other
Yeah,
things,
it
you know,
does.
like the father's dementia, which is not really dementia. We find out that it's the radiation from the suit. He's living in 2 times at the same, like that's crazy. Like to drop that and be like, oh, like all this other stuff sort of falls into place. I thought that was good. I also like the way that it ends. There is it wraps everything up, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you could totally take this and keep going with it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, they could. So, like I said, I even with that caveat, I still enjoyed it. The book looks good. The art is good, decent, very, sort of realistic, as realistic as you can be. Especially when you look at like the cityscapes and things like that. There's no empty. You don't get a lot of empty panels here. You really get someone took a detail and wrote every brick on the floor in a messed up building. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That you can see every particular. So the effort here is great visually, I think. And so the effort is here. The storytelling effort is here. This is not some comedy, you know, one and we're done kind of story. All in all, I think this is a very good series. And if you're not going to pick up the individual issues, I think certainly the graphic novel is once it comes out, is a definite buy.
Yeah,
Definitely
which
going to be enjoyed.
should be out, I think, next month or December.
Yeah, and there'll probably never be another issue because Skybound doesn't care. They're just opting. Everything in here is everything you need for a movie, right?
Yeah.
Everything here. If this was a movie, you'd watch it and you'd enjoy it. And they're just gonna go make another one. Okay, we did it. We're done. Move on. Just tell another story. And you know, I think so. I'm thinking Netflix could pick up all these Skybound books and just have their own universe.
Yeah. This is probably what Kirkman's overall plan is.
Yeah.
So.
And he doesn't. He didn't half step, right? He didn't. He didn't half step on the story. He didn't half step on the quality of the art. This is a quality book.
Yeah.
So, you know, you know, you know, whether or not this goes anywhere, you don't feel bad. I feel bad because it ended because I want more, but I got my money's worth in the total story.
Just to recap, from issue number 1, we were all captivated because it seemed as if the son was the superhero. But then that
Yeah.
twist at the end, and it drew you in emotionally as well because you thought that the father had dementia or early onset Alzheimer's. So like it really pulled at your heartstrings and at your superhero interest.
Yeah.
This was great. Great story.
All right. Any final thoughts on Stealth number 6? I'm assuming it's a buy for everybody.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a buy.
All right. Cool. Moving on to my second issue then. Captain Marvel number 22, or Legacy numbering 156. This is the current issue, just came out this last week. I've been casually following this series. I find that I probably like Captain Marvel maybe more than you guys. But I think she's an interesting character. I loved the movie. A lot of people kind of shat on the movie and said that it wasn't that good, but I thought it was good. This particular issue sort of ties in some story elements from another Captain Marvel book that I brought that I thought was going to be, well, it was a one-shot, but I didn't expect anything else to come of it. This book brings in some of those story elements from Captain Marvel The End, which I brought on the show a few months ago. And so I thought I'd bring this on. We've got some new characters that we don't always see all the time in Marvel books. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts?
Maybe if you don't mind. Again. So I really like the displacement in time where you see characters that you know and love, you see their offspring. You see the son of Spider-Woman. You see the daughter of Rhodey, which is War Machine, and it's not the daughter of Captain Marvel. So she's kind of pissed about that because at the time she gets displaced, she's having a thing with Rhodey. So I like that. I like the fact that it moves on. There's no perpetual youth in this comic. You actually see the age progression. You actually see some sense of legacy with them. And then you also see Spider-Woman, she's actually aged. So I really like to see the maturity, the growth, the legacy of these characters. And this showed that. I don't really have an emotional attachment to Captain Marvel. So this was taking a bland character, in my opinion, and putting her in a situation where I had interest. So this wasn't a fail for me. It's just I didn't come out of this with a more emotional attachment to Captain Marvel. It's just like, that was interesting. Didn't make me like her more. The movie itself, I enjoyed, but there's no emotional tie. There's no connection. I don't really relate to her. I don't find her relatable in some way, and that showed through this comic. I'm interested to see how they get out of the situation. The I think it was like the parallel world, or these villains coming in that are kind of bat-like from the parallel world. They've come and overruled the world. So I'm interested why and how and just all the mistakes that have been made up leading to this point. I want to see exactly how they rectify the situation and fix this world that they're in. But other than that, man,
That's fair.
Well, I'm gonna say for once, I 100% agree. I'm gonna put my own flavor in it, but you said everything that I pretty much was going to say. I don't like Captain Marvel. There's two reasons why I don't like Captain Marvel. One, it's all about girl power, and two, she acts like a cop, right?
Okay.
Like, oh, I'm gonna do this and whatever. You just need to get over it, right? So I don't like that kind of character. She's pretty much been this character ever since she got the title of Captain Marvel, and I don't like her. And they powered her up. Did you know how close she is parallel to Supergirl? Let me explain. Both last name Danvers,
Okay.
right? Both get power from the sun. Both fly super strength and can shoot beams. Both all about girl power, and both weren't the first one because Supergirl had Superman first, and this Captain Marvel had the original male Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So they really pretty much, and they've done a lot of things in the books, and I could go back in her history and show you how they basically made her Supergirl, or Mary Marvel in Shazam, where and but this book, I don't like her, but I like the world. I like a good future world where people had sex and superheroes had sex and they had babies with weird different powers and all that. That shit excites me, right? So I like that. Am I a fan of the art? It's okay. It's not terrible. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make me want to read this book necessarily, but it's there. It does the job. It's serviceable. Uh, the thing that is interesting here is this, shall we say, Matt, post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah. So normally I
Go ahead.
don't care for the post-apocalyptic stuff, but this being sort of an alternate timeline, and you know that there's something to be fixed. It's a temporary post-apocalypse, right? Like they're gonna do something that will help prevent the apocalypse from happening, right? So you know going in that there's gonna be a happy ending to all this.
Yeah. Like, I care more about these future characters than I care about Captain Marvel. I
Okay.
find these future characters more interesting than Captain Marvel. So for that reason, I'm going to say it is a read, not a buy.
Okay.
Definitely worth reading,
I'm interested to see how they capture or maintain the demons from Limbo, and that ties into an X-Men character. So hey, that's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Totally. All right. Cool. Well, those are my two issues for the week. I'll go ahead and pass it to Russ. What's your first issue this week?
though. Okay, my first issue is Omni #1 by Humanoids Comics. Now, if you're not following Humanoids Comics, and you're probably not, they have created a universe. There are multiple comics coming out that are out and have been out for some time. And the event that started superheroes called Ignition. And basically, the Earth is dealing with whatever's happening by, on purpose or by mistake, giving certain human beings certain powers. So it's very random who gets them. It's not all one type of people, one type of location. They're not all in New York. They're not all white. They're kind of everywhere because the Earth doesn't care about color either. So this is one of the books. There are quite a few. But this was the one that sort of spoke to me a little more than the rest. And I always like a way at looking at what does super genius look like? How do you draw super genius in a comic when it only happens in your head? And so that part interests me. The world interests me. Tell me what you guys think.
Manuel, you
Be
want to go
honest.
first?
Be brutal.
Sure. I will. I appreciated the seven intelligences. That really stands out to me. Oftentimes, you hear about somebody being hyper intelligent. They really manifest in kind of like a Sherlock Holmesian way, to where you can just decipher, and it's just their emotional intelligence completely devoid of that. They just have this analytical hyper intelligence based off of this one intelligence. Now, there's a theory in this book and in the real world about seven intelligences, and you can excel in each individual one. And this one of the main characters actually excels in these seven intelligences, and she breaks them down, well, the story rather breaks them down, and you can see it manifest and played out in a scene in which she's conducting surgery, or she's one of the Doctors Without Borders. So there's this interesting panel where she's in a high stress situation, and all the intelligences are broken up, and you can see them at work in different instances in that one situation, which was great. It reminds me of another book that you introduced us to, Russ, Catalyst Prime. I think that was from Lion Forge,
Yeah.
where, yeah. And the hope that I had for that universe, I have for this, because all these, she didn't call them superheroes. She called them like catalysts or something that was initiate. Um, these superhumans that have come about. And she used it somewhere. Maybe one of you guys could look for it for
Uh,
me. But
the Ignites. Is that what it is?
yeah,
Because it's the Ignites.
yes,
The ignited.
Yeah, the
The
Ignited.
ignited.
yes, the ignited, which is interesting. How you take the same thing and kind of twist it, flip it on its head. In this world, I don't think comic books exist. Well, no, they do reference superheroes, but the ignited and other powers that have been made manifest with different individuals. I'm looking forward to this. I'm invested in this universe. I have high hopes for it. Hopefully, there's not a cataclysmic world-ending event that's going to happen. It's just the world goes about, and these heroes, or these ignited, these ignitioned people actually save the day in their lives.
Yeah.
So this is
I've
great.
got R. Kelly stuck in my head now.
Yeah, the same thing. I've been trying
This is
not to reference him, but yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some big names associated with this, right? So you got John Cassaday. He's the chief creative officer. Mark Wade is the director of creative development for this Humanity Incorporated. So this is a serious comic book company. I think from the get go. I do like the fact that we get to see the intelligences. I feel like it's almost borderline multiple personalities, though. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting because it's like you have a character that is highly noble in their ambition and their goals, and um, how they're interacting with the world, and to describe it as intelligences rather than multiple personalities, I think is a direct sort of correlation to the type of person that her core being is. So that's kind of interesting. You could do a lot literarily with that in terms of like internal conflict and what type of external forces will act upon this character and how will she react type of thing. The book itself, I really like the artwork. There's a lot going on here. It's very clean, it's crisp, it's detailed. But the overall story itself, as an introductory, I feel like it drags a little bit. I wanted a little bit more because the beginning you have the car crash, or they avoid the garbage truck that crashes into the bus. It's like, oh, okay, here's a little action, and then it just kind of drags for the rest of the book. And I feel like that's a missed opportunity. If there was a little more conflict going on in the rest of the book, I would have enjoyed it more. I would say this is a solid read, just because it does a lot of things that other superhero books have. Um, a lot of superhero books take the spandex and tights and then they throw humanity into it. This is starting right from the humanity and just sort of ignoring the spandex, which I think is a good way to go about it. And just the first page, I was like, Mark Waid, I'm in. Done. I'm kind of interested to see, what's happening here, right? If he's co-signing, there's got to be something here. So overall, I enjoyed it. I just thought it was a little slow to get started.
I'm gonna agree with that. I've held on to this for a while. I just thought that was the time to bring it out for that very reason. But I do like the universe. There's a website, humanoids.com. You can find more of the comic books in that universe and what the company is trying to do, which I think is great. Their comics are available on Comixology. So if you want to follow this and you're willing to go digital, there's a way to go. But I like the idea of this universe, because you got to figure, if you create a universe and you write your own book, you got to figure, why did superpowers start? Who started them, right? Is it mutants? Is
Yeah.
it science? Is it something? And this one, it is the Earth trying to deal with all the messed up stuff we're doing to it. And we don't even know if it is on purpose or if it's even good. What if it's a symptom of a disease?
Right.
So I like the idea of that. So there's more here. This isn't the only issue that is available. I just started with the first one. But it gets, again, it is very much a human story, like you said. And I like that. Like, give me a human story in this universe and not a Lois Lane story where I'm just going to be stupid and hope that Superman saves me, but an actual human being that thinks they can die and might not be saved and is still trying to affect change in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not specifically all one race of people or one location in the world either. So there's a lot to read here if you're interested in the universe. Also check out humanoids.com. So you say it's a read, Emmanuel?
It's definitely a read.
Okay. I accept that graciously and move forward into my next book, which is another universe building book. This one came out, and I was really surprised that you had not heard of it. So basically, this book's called Rising Stars. Came out in 1999. Image and Top Cap. And a meteor, something happened, landed in one town, and every child that was in the womb was infected. All right, and so it goes from there. That's it. Only if you were outside the womb or you were the mother or father, nothing for you. But everybody in the womb, dun, 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 something. And this is I think it went for 2 years. They did a full, complete story. They tell you why it happened, how it happened, everything comes out. So if you're interested in this, the graphic novels are already available. And because it's older, you may be able to find all of them. But let's stop and ask, what do you guys think?
I'm gonna jump in. I really enjoyed this book.
Okay.
So the artwork is definitely a product of the time. 1999.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a 1999 book. That being said, there's some high concepts here, just with the way everything is done, and I think that's partially because of the guy that has his name above the title. J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5. There's a famous rumor that he actually pitched Babylon 5 to CBS, and then DS9 came out, and there's that whole thing. But yeah, he's definitely all about like political under and overtones. So this is a superhero story specifically with a political bent, and like how does society deal with this? And that's like the core concept before you even get into the fact that they're superheroes and what they do with their superpowers. And it's interesting because I think that that's the way that it would happen if something like this were to happen in our lives or in reality, you would have the government and different organizations coming together and being like, okay, uh, we need to monitor these children. We need to figure out what it is they can and can't do, um, and figure out a way that we might be able to control or manipulate them in a way that will um, benefit society. And so that's really interesting. The book itself is kind of a self-contained story for issue number one, which is not something that you see too often. And then when I saw that it was 26 or 24 issues, I was like, holy shit, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on in this universe. I did check it out on Comixology. Each of the issues are $1. So you can pick up the whole run for $24, or I think there's a compendium that's on sale right now for like 18, which I might actually buy after we're done with the show. Um,
Nice.
yeah, it's really interesting. I like that you also have the antisocial characters, um, and like I don't know what I think the one kid that burns the camp counselor is Pyre or Pyro is his name later on. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Like that is the way a kid would deal with that particular situation. Um, so those are my thoughts. This is a definite buy for me.
Nice. I want to say you guys both came out the gate this week with theme, and Russ, you with just build hero to the world. This is what happens. I feel kind of jealous. I didn't come with a theme. Anyway, this issue was nice. I really appreciate the fact that it is, as Matt said, self-contained. You can see the beginning, not necessarily the middle, but you see how it ends, the culmination of the death of all these characters. At the very end, there's like an homage, or the guy, the narrator, who is, even though he is a part of the people that became powerful or had powers, he still seems like an outcast, an outsider. Maybe that's due to the fact that everyone else that he knew that had powers has died, and he's just recapping.
Would
But
you would
this
you
was,
would you agree that he's kind of like a Rorschach character?
I like that analog.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't
that
mean to cut
actually
you
kind
off.
of,
You can continue
no,
your
no, you're
thoughts.
good. You're good. I'm interested in the character, specifically the character Stephanie, who was a little girl at the time, and she doesn't manifest any powers. I want to know if she eventually manifests them. So that encourages me to read the other issues. So this is definitely a solid read. I wouldn't say a buy at the moment, simply because I'm interested. They've piqued my interest. They haven't satisfied my curiosity and entertained me as much yet, but it is a definite read. Um, the art, as Matt said, is definitely a product of the time. Without you even telling me what year this was made, I could look at the art and say, "Oh, this was '90s. This was definitely the '90s." I don't know if it was late '90s or earlier, but no, I would say late, roughly late '90s.
Yeah.
Um, I appreciated this. This was a solid read. It has piqued my interest. I will check out more issues.
Okay. So have you guys seen this TV show, The 4400?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the one where they're selected to go through trials to get to the society split between the haves and
I think that's
have-nots,
'100.
or am I thinking of
Not,
a totally different?
no, different. So 4400 is, I think, 6 seasons. Came out at maybe a similar time to this comic. So what happens is 4,400 people that have disappeared throughout time, contemporary time, but not all from the same year, all show up like a meteor land or something. Something happens and they all walk out of it. They're from different times. They don't know each other. They have no relation, but they're called the 4,400. It's exactly how many they are,
Okay.
right? So you got 4,400 time displaced people, right? And where do you put them? What do you do with them, right? So the government automatically gets involved because they're like refugees or whatever. But then over time, they begin to manifest powers,
Okay.
right? And then there's something behind that. So you see the government involvement. It's on Netflix, by the way.
All right.
Uh, uh, so if you're looking for something somewhat similar to this that is already out there in video form, and you haven't seen it yet because it's been out for this is probably early 2000s. The show's been out. A lot of people you may know, are you surprised are in this because it came out some time ago. There's a lot of government involvement. There's a lot of, and then once you finally get through all the mess that's happening, you have to find out why did this happen in the first place, and is there some intelligence behind this, and some purpose behind it?
Okay.
So it's not the same as Rising Stars because Rising Stars is a whole different story. But if you're looking for something like this, then you'd rather watch some TV behind it. Then you want something that's already going to go for more than one season. This one already went 5, 6 seasons, I think. And I really enjoyed that. And this made me think of that.
Okay.
So I'm glad you enjoyed reading the books. Please consider checking out. It's called The 4400. It is on Netflix. Emmanuel, you've seen it?
I have. I
Have you
definitely
seen it?
enjoyed every episode.
This kind of has like
When-
almost has a Heroes vibe too, a little bit. I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
And
heroes
he-
before
oh, and-
heroes. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that. Anyway, I'm glad you both enjoyed the books. Now, I'll pass the baton to Emmanuel.
All right, man. Your first book of the week.
All right, my first book of the week, the one that Russ loves. All right, before I really get into it, I want to introduce this. This is the Animaniacs. Dot is cute and Yakko yaks. Wacko packs away the snacks. Bill Clinton plays the sax. Animaniacs. That's a bit of the theme song.
And
Yeah.
and they're zany to the max.
Yeah.
They're zany to the max. Totally insane. Pinky and the Brainy. Animaniacs. I picked this issue because I loved Animaniacs. They were a part of my routine coming home from school, and I would run to just watch. If I missed a minute, I would really like loathe the fact that what happened? What happened? Because there's so many jokes. The jokes that flew over my head, jokes that I got. I really appreciated this TV series. Now the comic itself didn't really deliver as well, but it was a good homage to my childhood. And I picked the last issue on purpose. I didn't want to, revisit this, go back to it. This was just a nice, the comic book existed and it's done. Thank you for your service. And that's about it. What you guys think?
Well, I'm gonna probably take Russ's what he's gonna say. Like, man, it didn't deliver. Why the hell did you bring this on? So I don't know. I remember watching the show as a kid and reading the book as an adult. I don't know that I enjoyed it as much as I thought that I did. I feel like I watched it because it was on now, and going back through, I'm like, did I really like the show? I don't know if I did or not. This was an interesting look at my childhood, and brought back some memories that I thought that I had left behind and forgotten. But yeah, I don't know. The book itself, the artwork is the artwork. It looks like the show.
Yeah.
The premise of the book is kind of a wacky racers thing that's going on here. I remember there was a similar Hanna-Barbera cartoon that was like this, where they brought all of the characters.
It's called Wacky Race.
It was called Wacky Racers.
Oh, it could have. There was a Wacky Racers. There was also the Laugh Olympics,
I don't think
where
it
they
was.
had the Yogi Yahooies. Well, there was a Wacky Racers comic book. In fact, some of these characters are similar. There was a Penelope Pitstop that's
Right.
like that one rabbit girl's doing. So yes, Wacky Racers is probably a better. Hat Muttley.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, I got those
That's
vibes. Yeah, I got those vibes off of it. I I don't know. It was kind of enjoyable. I mean, there's stupid humor throughout. It's kind of what the show was. Now that I think back on it, um, yeah. I mean, what is there to say about this, Russ?
All right, so here's the deal. By the way, Animaniacs are coming back. Did you know that? There's a trailer for it. I dropped them. They're going to be on Hulu. Now, Animaniacs was a Steven Spielberg type of. Steven Spielberg pushed this. This was his thing. His name was sort of in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Animaniacs was something I watched when I needed a cartoon and it was on. Was it memorable? Remember, I was probably older than you guys, so was it memorable? Was it something that I have some kind of emotion for? No. Same way that Freakazoid was disappointing. You know what I mean? It wanted to be something. It never got there. Animaniacs wanted to be Tiny Toons, I think. But they had a lot of adult humor in there. If you were looking for that, they were just sort of trying to it's Warner Brothers, right? So they did a lot of what you would expect the old school Bugs Bunny did, right? They had slapstick, but they also had highbrow content. But I never really found it entertaining. It was just there. I will say this book was just like another episode. But I never felt like I needed, like if I missed an Animaniacs episode, I never felt it was a loss. So if I didn't read this comic, I didn't feel like I missed anything. Right? Not that it's not a bad book. It does what the TV cartoon does. It does exactly that.
Yeah.
It gives you that exact same humor with the exact same characters. So if you picked up an Animaniacs book on purpose, then you got what you paid for. It delivered. Right? I mean, if I would have, if I buy Archie book, I know what it is. Right? If you buy an Animaniacs book, you know what it is. And if you spent that money, then you got what you wanted. But there's nothing in this for me. There was nothing in this for me in the cartoon, other than an occasional, the adult level jokes that would show up on occasion. I never feel like I missed anything. I never went back to watch old episodes. There's no real content. It's kind of all slapstick all the way throughout. There is some sort of moral kind of thing at the end, I guess, but I was really looking for it, so I don't know if it would show up for everybody. I really didn't like this book. If you passed ever on any of the cartoons, pass on this book. But if you're a fan of Animaniacs, this book is actually for you. Right? And somebody thinks somebody's a fan because they're reviving the series. I won't be watching it, but somebody will be.
There's a few shows within the show that I like. Just some of the weird and maybe slapstick, but I like the mime. That mime thing where he's trying to. I really like those cutaways. And another thing that I really, really enjoyed, this was before I really got into Deadpool, was the breaking of the fourth wall. When the characters, mainly Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, they would address the screen and address the audience. And that to me was great. I had never seen anything like that before in comics or in film. So that's one of the key or two of the keys that made me fall in love with that. Those little short shows within a show, and then the breaking of the fourth wall. But I could definitely see your stance and not appreciating it if you did not appreciate the comic.
I'm just
or the show.
I'm amused imagining you, Emmanuel, just like sitting there reading all 59 issues. I can see you doing that. Like, yeah, I got 6 hours to kill. Let me just read through all these.
I might not do that, but I would definitely watch the revised version, the new issue, the new shows that's coming out. I would definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I if you would have said, "Hey, watch this episode," I would have watched it with a different attitude. But you made me read this book, and I was like, "This book just not—it's not going to deliver on the funny the same way a show would. that would have the music and the antics and the animation. So I just feel like it was, if the show is here, the book is here, and I'm just okay on the show. So it just didn't do anything for me that I couldn't. I don't have any friends to recommend this to. I can't say anybody you should read this book. So
I
I
got
would
you.
just say it's a pass.
Completely understandable. This also was in direct relation to, or direct response to, the highbrow issues that I've
Oh,
been
all right,
posting
okay,
as of late.
all right, that makes sense now. I won't ever criticize your highbrow comics again.
Because I'll go the opposite extreme. I'll go the lowest brow you've ever heard.
All right. Moving on to the next issue, then our last issue of the week.
All right, Strain Academy issue number 1, Marvel Comics. This is all of the younger mages, magicians, sorcerers, just all of the magically inclined youth in the Marvel Comics. You have them in this book. And they've come to the first ever academy. I don't know what they call it, Academy of Wizardry, but they're learning magic from all the top tier magicians. You have Doctor Strange, which makes a cameo at the end. You have, um, oh gosh, I got to kind of look over it now to see who the teachers are. But you have Dormammu's kid is actually one of the students there. But oh, what is the warlock or the black magician who
Doctor Voodoo.
rivals Doctor Voodoo? You have Doctor Voodoo as a teacher. All of these magicians that are adults, they teach or come in to teach the students, and it's an interesting concept. I like the concept of all these magicians. They're not necessarily heroes. They're not necessarily villains. They're just kids who have a magical ability. They've come in, and you have an Asgardian, and then you have a frost giant who is magically inclined. The two are supposed to be opposites, the two races, but they've come to learn. So they got to put away their grievances that their parents or the adults have, come together and learn magic as a group, which is a great concept because as they grow older, the newest generation, they, even if they go their own separate way and one becomes a villain, one becomes a hero, they will still have that respect. We learn from the same class, sort of, kind of like Doctor Strange and his foe. Not I'm forgetting the name, but the guy that he trained with. They didn't train as kids, mind you. They trained as adults, but there's still that respect there because they trained in the same area. What do you guys think about the story?
Russ? You want me-
Okay. Um, Harry. No, I'll go. Harry Potter, New Mutants. That's what this is. All these kids had not been seen before. They're all new to this comic. They've all been invented. So Doyle Dormammu is my favorite. So if you like that premise, and you like that the teachers are all the magical users in the Marvel Universe, including Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, Scarlet Witch, if you like that, then this is a book for you. But none of the children have existed before this book, so they're all brand new. So it's kind of so you just have to decide if you're interested enough. I am interested enough to read another book, not though about not necessarily because of the personalities of the kids. It's a little too young for me. They're not, they're not all even quite teenagers. But the how this school exists, how all these big time magic users are involved, what are they doing? Obviously, they have some secret that they're keeping also from the kids. What is that? That world interests me. So I'm going to read more because the world interests me. I do like Doyle Dormammu though. He's sort of my favorite. Uh, you know, a guy with a flaming fucking head and a certain suit and tie with a bad attitude. I like the potential of a lot of these young characters, but it's only unrealized potential at this time. So I can't say it's a buy, but I can say it's definitely a read. And I have read this in the next few books, so just so you know, I didn't just give up. Uh, but I don't know. You're like, who is your hero? Who do you want to follow in this book? Like, this is one of the things I look for. Like, whose story do you want to hear more about? Doyle Dormammu is one of them, and that every girl, the girl that sort of starts the book, sees interesting enough. And there's some people that, there's a dark dimension demon is one of the kids in here. There's a lot of potentially great characters, uh, but it's still potential. So you have to decide. So to that end, I can't say it's a buy. I'm not sure you're going to walk away with, oh my God, I can't wait to the next one. But I read it and I enjoyed reading it, so I think you would too. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, so I almost brought this one on months ago when it first came out, but I had just brought on a Doctor Strange book, I think, the week before this came out, and so I thought, well, I'll skip Strange Academy because it's too much like Doctor Strange. Um, he really only makes a passing cameo appearance towards the end. He's really not that important to the story, and Doctor Voodoo is like the headmaster of the school. The interesting thing is it takes place in Louisiana, in New Orleans, so it has that sort of being in that setting. It has that I guess American magic. What came over from the Caribbean slaves and,
Right.
that kind of stuff is really cool, and it's an awesome sort of setting to place these characters in. Um, I think that it's kind of cliche, but at the same time, it's just a good setup for all these new characters. So for me, I mean, this is on my pull list. I'm buying these issues as they're coming out. It is a buy. I think this is a collector's buy though, because there's so many new characters that they're introducing in this book that anything that they do, like if these characters end up taking off or whatever, you want to have this book in your collection because it's going to be the first appearance of like 20 different characters.
All right.
Um, and it's nice to see this in the Marvel Universe because a lot of times we just have like rehashes or like, all right, let's just age these characters down and we'll redo the story again. This is all brand new, so it's nice to have that to be able to jump in. I do like the magic element of it too, because it's not just here's another mutant team or here's a bunch of younger superheroes or whatever. You can do a lot more with the whole magic aspect of it, right? Like Doctor Strange in this issue is introduced by coming from another dimension. He's fighting a demon in another dimension, and that's how he like makes his cameo appearance. So you can have that with all of these characters where they're going to their different dimensions and things like that. Um, Overall, I thought it was really good. I'm still reading it. It's only 3 issues in. Um, there's like Russ said, there's a lot of potential here that is just sort of untapped. It was like Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos threw this down. It was like here's this full cast of characters. We'll play around with them a little bit, but I think the real payoff is going to be 5 or 6 years down the road where you've got sort of this wealth of what's happened with these characters to play around with and different
Right.
stories. I think it's a good pick. I
I
think
want
it's
to add one thing.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
It's all right.
Asgard. ASS. Guard. It's time somebody finally said that in the comments. Yes. That was, oh, you're from Asgard. So I like that. That was a nice touch. And it's definitely something kids would say.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes sense.
Or Tony Stark.
Like a fart joke. Yeah, that's it. Well, kids, like I said.
Yeah. So and the artwork
Alright.
and stuff is amazing in this book. So I know a lot of people give Humberto Ramos crap. They don't necessarily like his more street art style that he draws in. Um, but like him and Scotty Young do that, and they do it well. So if you like their artwork, this is definitely a pickup too, for sure. But those are the 6 issues.
I like their artwork.
We made it through another week, and we had some good books. We've got a few things on the round table, unless anybody has any final thoughts on Strange Academy before we move on. All right. So I'm assuming the Humble Comics bundle link is yours, Russ?
All of it's mine.
Oh, all right, okay. So we've got a link that we'll put in the show notes. So the Humble Comics bundle this week is AWA, which we had Resistance, and we had Ronin, I think was the other book that I brought on last week from that studio.
Yeah. And it's I like it because it's sort of a creator's studio.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yes.
I think the top tier is like $15, and you get, I don't know, so 40 or 50 comics or something like that. Probably worth it. Let's see, we've got another link in here. Michael B. Jordan is producing a Static Shock film for DC.
Yes.
We'll see.
High
What does he
hopes. I have
produce?
high hopes.
What has he produced in the past that makes you think this is going to be good?
I have high hopes. He's aware of the industry. I'm looking forward to what he's going to put out because he's aware of it. He's a strong actor, so I want to see if that transition from actor to director is seamless. We'll see. I have reason to believe it's going to be good based off of that alone.
I'm kind of curious why Static? Why does this character keep coming up?
It's the most famous. It's because he's the Spider-Man of that universe.
Okay.
He's the most relatable, most loved character in all of. And yes, I think even the writers and the people who do Milestone Comics are sick of it too. But it's the one that it's the only one that's had a TV show. It's the one character that almost everybody knows, like everybody knows Spider-Man. So I think that's what that's about.
Okay.
So you pick that. That's anyway. I'm looking forward to it. I like the possibility of it. I'm just worried that it won't be that good. I don't have. I like that this particular guy is involved. However, I don't have any evidence he's ever done anything good. And so if he hasn't, I'm tripping.
I think
So
I think it'll probably do well as long as they don't try to make it this grim, dark thing like they have with all the
Yeah.
DC stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely won't be grimdark. That's not, it's that's not what people fell in love with when they fell in love with Static Shock, and all
Well,
these other things.
Yeah, true, but I mean that's kind of like what they have done or have been doing with
Remember, it's not DC. It is its own thing.
Yeah.
DC has been going dark, definitely, but this is not DC. This is a milestone. So they never had a movie. So it could be something else. It doesn't have to be that. And as you can see, remember they redesigned the character for the comics.
Right.
You can see what they're trying to do. So I don't have any reason to think that it's going to be dark.
Okay.
And I'm excited
see that
about-
that's there.
I'm excited about the projects that Michael B. Jordan has been in: Creed, Creed 2, Black Panther, Just Mercy, Fruitvale Station, all those. Now, of course, he was an actor in all of these roles. So I'm really hoping, and it's hope with a reason behind it, that he'll do good in directing. He's seen good directors. He's known and worked with good directors. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Russ, you want to introduce your question then for the week?
Yeah, so my question today is what's your favorite animal anthropomorphic superhero? Not counting Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo. Who's your favorite? You can go anywhere you want. Superhero that is an animal superhero. You can go in comics,
Dexter.
outside of comics. Who you got? Who?
Dexter, the Red
Okay.
Lantern.
Dexter.
Yes.
There's so
I
much
like
heart
Dexter.
to that because he vows to find the
He
killer
doesn't
of
talk.
his dead owner. Well, yeah, he talks. Like he vows to kill the killer of his owner. Like Dexter was a good kitty, normal cat that was treated very well by a older lady, fed, loved, but then a group of people, broke into the house and assaulted and killed the old woman. And when the police came in, they thought Dexter was just, a random stray. So they kicked the cat out. The cat's been living, on the street, and some random thugs came and just wanted to be assholes and if memory serves me correctly, wrapped the cat up in a burlap sack and tried to drown the normal cat. And the hate star, was just so happens to pick up on Dexter's hate and rage and granted Dexter the Green Lantern ability
Red
and
Red Lantern.
Yeah.
Red Lantern ability. And then now, even after killing its would-be killers, now Dexter vows to find and kill the killers of its original master. Because Dexter is a good kitty. Come on. Come on.
Okay, I am partial to Throg. Do you know who Throg is?
Thor Frog.
The Thor Frog, yeah.
I am partial to Throg. Because being a frog and having the power of Thor. However, I can go way back to, you would have to look it up, Hoppy the Marvel Bunny.
Hoppy the
Hoppy is a rabbit. Yes, Hoppy is a rabbit that can say the magic word Shazam.
Oh my god, okay.
Right? So he really had his own comic, unlike any of these other people. He had his own comic and his own following for a while. Right? We're talking, what if Bugs Bunny had Shazam powers? He had his own comic, and he actually traveled and helped Captain Marvel on occasion. Right? I would also consider Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew.
You've brought up them
Captain
before.
Carrot, Captain Carrot has recently showed up. There's a Marvel multiverse of Supermen or Superman type characters from different multiverses fighting together to save the multiverse. He is one of them, right? And his secret identity is he is actually a comic writer. And he was writing comics and he kept carrots and his windowsill growing, and some stuff got into the carrots, some extra meteorite, whatever, and he chewed on the carrots and then transformed into Captain Marvel. But every so often he has to go back and eat one of those carrots. Not Captain Marvel, Captain Carrot.
Okay.
So I would say in that order, I would go Throg, Hoppy the Marvel Bunny, Captain Carrot. All right. Now, let me see if I can find. I went Marvel, right? I went DC,
Right.
right? Anyone else? Anything else outside of Marvel and DC? Any other characters tickle your fancy, as it were?
Well, I don't know about outside of Marvel.
Okay.
I mean, my default is TMNT. Like that's that's my
Yeah, that's why I took it off the table.
right. But I do like Rocket. I think he's a cool character. From Guardians
As
of the Galaxy.
cowardly as he is, I like Scooby. As cowardly as he is, I like Scooby Doo.
But is he really? He's not really anthropomorphic though. He is a dog.
Yeah, but he talks and he stands up on hind legs and he makes sandwiches.
Okay. All right. That's a good argument. I'll accept that.
No. Why is no one choosing Spider Ham?
Spider-Ham was on the list when I just did a Google search of give me the top anthropomorphic superheroes. Howard the Duck always comes up.
Yeah. Who always was a duck.
Yep.
Right? Comes from Planet of Ducks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I think. Yeah, I got to go with Rocket. He'd be my favorite.
Rocket. All right. Yep, Throg. If I had to come up with my list, now I can go somewhere else. I can say something like Samurai Pizza Cats. Or, you know what I mean? I could go there, right?
Yeah.
Or all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle offshoots, right? I could go with Crypto, the Superdog, and Ace the Bat Hound,
Yeah.
and Kanga, Wonder Woman's kangaroo.
Oh my God.
Right. I can go Adam Ant. You familiar with Adam Ant? Do you go back far enough?
I think so.
Hanna-Barbera had a superhero that was the size of an
Oh.
ant. He had his own show, Atom, Atom, A-T-O-M. The power of the atom.
What was the?
Adam Ant.
I want Mighty Mouse and Speedy Gonzales.
Do you guys remember the?
I'll give you that. You got your Superman and your Flash.
The Rovers. It was a WB cartoon. They were all dogs, but they had superpowers.
Yeah, I kind of remember. I kind of remember. Can I count Gleek from the Super Friends? The monkey with the stretchy tail.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Yeah, he's a alien too, though, right?
Yes. Okay. Now, what about this? Hong Kong Phooey.
I'll let you have it.
He's definitely not a human.
Mm-hmm. Biker Mouse from Mars.
Biker Mice from Mars, definitely. Tiger Shark.
No. Okay.
No, the Street Sharks, not Tiger Sharks.
Street Sharks.
Yeah.
But weren't
What
they
about-
humans first? Weren't they human?
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
What about
so good.
Duckman? What about Duckman? You familiar with Duckman?
Duckman, you're talking about the USA Network.
George Costanza. Yes, George Costanza did the voice.
Wow.
That's
Alright.
that's a deep cut right there.
It is, right? I could go Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century.
That's a
I
good.
could go. What about Earthworm Jim?
He did start off in a comic, didn't he? I think it was
I
a
think
comic
so.
before it was a video game. So maybe that works. Yeah.
What about Dynomutt?
Yes. That's
Ah,
Dynamite is
Blue Falcon is psychic. Blue Falcon, which only showed up. Blue Falcon and Dog Wonder. Away! I used to love that. Right now, I will say, there was a dog that was so ugly that to look at him would be to go insane, and he wore a dog house over his face. And whenever his superhero, he was a sidekick. Whatever superhero was Mighty Man and Yuck. His name was Yuck. If you type in, there's an animated series, Mighty Man and Yuck. And what happened is Mighty Man was, of course, some rich dude, and he would go mighty, mighty, and he would shrink down and become a Superman this big,
okay.
right? And his dog, which is the same dog throughout, was a stand on hind legs, but he wore a dog house over his face, right? Like no human being could look at it. I mean, he would stop time. He was so ugly. Everything else, you never actually got to see his face. But Yuck, Mighty Man and Yuck was great.
What about
I don't know if you guys remember that.
What about Snoopy?
Who?
Snoopy.
Yeah. You notice one thing? Snoopy never had superpowers. He was an ace. He was a fighter pilot. He was everything, but he would never actually had superpowers. That was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did everything else though. And I heard Apple has just greenlit a new Peanut series only
Okay.
on Apple Plus. For those of you who care to spend money on that. Battletoads. We were talking about Battletoads earlier,
Yeah.
but they were human once. And Freakazoid wasn't human. Was Freakazoid? Why is he on this list?
Gex the Gecko, SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats are like my favorite.
Oh, dude, I
Oh,
loved SWAT
and
Cats when I was a kid.
Underdog. Yes, right. That was like the best thing
Underdog.
ever. Why did that ever stop? They
I
could do that again, and I would still love it.
Well, and the animation was so clean and so,
It was.
yeah.
I'm kind of upset with that. They brought back Thundercats like 3 times.
What about the
SWAT Cats was the best.
Lunatics? The Looney Tunes as superheroes.
I did actually did like
Okay.
that. I actually did like that series. I don't think they went for 1 season.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that all Hanna-Barbera, all the Looney Tune characters all came back and all had superpowers. Like including Daffy, who could quack, but basically he could teleport, whatever. I like that all of them was there, and they fought space versions of Yosemite Sam and things like that. So all the characters that you love were in that. For me, that was like the best of both worlds. It was
Yeah.
only Saturday morning and never came on week to week. But I really like that. What about the Mighty Ducks?
Yeah.
The animated, they were
the
actual
Mighty
ducks
Ducks.
from another planet.
Right.
So there's a lot here. The next question is the world ready for a animal superhero animated series, and would you watch it?
What do you mean? Are they ready?
Well, I mean, with it ready now, this is the modern world. None of these are, what are they doing? I guess I guess you could say Animaniacs because they're not human beings. But I
Right.
mean a superhero animated series that's an animal. What's out now? Anything?
Oh, yeah, I don't think anything's out right now. We're talking about stuff that
Right.
came out when, 90s or
Yeah.
earlier.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, is it too late? Is this over?
Well, all
Wow.
right, didn't they
Super
do
Robot Monkey Team.
Didn't they do a new
Go ahead.
Darkwing Duck, or they were thinking about renewing that?
Okay, so I don't know if it's going to be an ongoing series, but the new Darkwing Duck only appears in DuckTales.
Okay.
The new DuckTales, which
Okay.
I hear is actually pretty good. And they reimagined it somewhat. They even finally, I saw a trailer, not a trailer, but an excerpt where they actually brought Gosling back into it. They had to reimagine Gosling and put her into the story, but
Okay.
in a more, because DuckTales, they say the DuckTales and the Darkwing Duck were actually different universes, even though Launchpad was in both. Right? They were saying because DuckTales was much more kiddie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now to put them in the same universe, I am a terror to flat. He can't be as. And I was reading about it just recently, actually, just this week, and they said the one thing that makes our new Darkwing Duck great is Darkwing Duck keeps getting beat up. Right? He doesn't do anything right. He still ultimately gets it right in the end. He ultimately wants to be a hero and always tries,
Right.
but he always gets an amble fall on him or something like that, no matter what. But it never stops his boundless optimism. It never stops his willing to put himself in harm's way, and I like that. But of course, a real person does that and they die.
Right.
What about Underdog? There's no need to fear. Underdog is here. Have you ever watched? It's really old, but have you ever watched it?
Well, it came out with the movie in
Underdog only-
2009.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but it didn't really capture the original. Underdog in the animated series only talks in rhyme.
Right.
Only rhymes, right? When he ran out of power, in the secret compartment of my ring, I fill with an Underdog super energy pill. When Polly's in trouble, I am not slow. It's hip, 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 and away I go. And he always rhymed, and he would kick those rhymes with no beats. Through every episode, he was stupid. He would blow stuff up and all of that, but he always rhymes.
Yeah.
And they've never done a Hong Kong Phooey since, because the guy who did his voice, Scatman Carruthers, he's the same guy who did jazz for the Autobots in the original animated series.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He really put his own spin on it. It was really great and really iconic, and no one's been able ever. But I do, if you care, have an article on blacksuperherofan.com because I consider Hong Kong Fooey a black superhero. I have honorarily put him in. And so there have been other iterations. I have a web animation, and I also have someone did a CGI animation that sounds like Eddie Murphy doing the voice for Hong Kong Fooey. But you can find that on blacksuperherofan.com as a Hong Kong Fooey entry if any of you are interested.
All right. I think that does it, gentlemen. I think that's all the stuff we got. Are there any final thoughts before we sign off and direct people to the website?
I have
Slowly but surely becoming an X-Men fan.
Slowly but surely.
What?
What have you read recently?
Yeah, we'll get into it. I don't want to spoil next week's episode.
All right, well,
episode.
I'm gonna say
Stay tuned.
still not a Captain Marvel fan.
Still not a Captain Marvel. You know what? I have a renewed interest in Captain Planet though.
Oh,
Really?
but
Yeah.
is he?
There's something
Okay.
happened that made you. What was it? That silly thing they did on comic Funny or Die, where they had him turn
With
people
Don
into
Cheadle?
plants.
We'll
Yeah, Don Cheadle was Captain Plant.
we'll leave that for
Alright.
next episode as well. So you have to tune
All
in.
right, fair enough.
And yeah, so if you're listening to us just the audio, you're probably finding us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts or whichever podcatcher you choose. I appreciate it. Be sure to leave a comment or like the show if you can. If you're watching the archive, if it's a week later, you might be doing that on Twitch. We stream live every week, Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/cornercomics. And you can always check out our website, cornercomics.net, for all of the archives of the show. And on that note, we're out.
Now, what if you had a dog? Right, like if he lick you, something would happen. If he pee on you, something would happen.